feeling small. When tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side, oh, when times get rough, and friendships can be bad.
Hello, everybody. This is Ray Renati, and you've reached Green Room Radio. You know that because you clicked on it. And I'm your host. How you doing, folks? Today is October 2nd, 2018. My last podcast, I went on a big old rant. I almost deleted it. I was a little embarrassed for having spoken in such a way. This is supposed to be an entertainment podcast, and I just went off politically, and I swore. I said all kinds of nasty words. Damn. I was out walking, too. I was just affected by that Senate thing with Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford and all that. I don't remember anything even coming close to that since I was a kid watching Watergate on television. This was worse. Wow. Well, I'd like to put that behind us. Put it behind us and move forward. Yeah. I just made that song up for you, folks, my friends and listeners. I recently had the opportunity to speak with Alex Bennett. If you're from the Bay Area and you're, I'd say over 40, you probably know who Alex Bennett is. Alex Bennett is a radio personality. That's how he likes to be referred to. And he was a huge influence here in Bay Area radio back in the 80s and 90s. I used to listen to him every day on KMEL and the Quake and then Live 105. He really helped a lot of comedians in the San Francisco Bay Area with their careers back in that time. And in that time, if you were in the Bay Area, you know, if you remember, or if you were at all awake, comedy was huge. It was a huge art form here in the Bay Area. And we had all kinds of amazing comics, very talented comics here in the Bay Area. Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, Bobby Slayton was here all the time. Oh, the list goes on and on. These people were on Alex's show, along with a bunch of other famous comedians every morning for many years on one of those three stations. And Alex had a huge following here. But his career is not limited to that. He started way back in the 50s or 60s and has worked at so many radio stations in New York and Florida, all over the country. He moved to a station in Miami, I believe, after he was on Live 105, and then he went to Sirius Radio. The myth is that Howard Stern used Alex's format to come up with his own sort of hybrid of what Alex did. Alex's, I would say, was more thoughtful, more politically oriented. But Alex had a sidekick named Lori Thompson here in the Bay Area, and they would quibble back and forth, and it was very entertaining and very funny. But Alex is extremely intelligent, and he's a very thoughtful, left-wing political person. Definitely, he doesn't hide that. He's very much skewed towards the left in his outlook. He's always been on the cutting edge of technology in radio and the internet. He's had a number of internet TV shows and radio shows in between jobs, and most significantly in recent times, he has started a a website called Gabnet. It's sort of his own radio station, gabnet.net. And there are a number of broadcasters that broadcast off of that website. And Alex has his own show from 7 p.m. Pacific time until 9 p.m. Pacific time every Tuesday through Friday on YouTube. It's also on TuneIn Radio, and you can listen to it on gabnet.net as well. And it's called The Ramble. Alex does his own show for about a half an hour, either by himself or with his very funny and talented wife, Marjorie, or Larry Bubbles Brown, the comedian, along with other people who regularly speak with Alex for about a half hour, Tuesday through Friday. And then, after the first 30 minutes, he invites people to come on through Skype in the Citizens panel. And I am one of the regulars on the Citizens panel. Basically, the Citizens panel is made up of a bunch of middle-aged dudes and a couple of women. And we talk about everything from politics to prostate problems. Yes, folks, it's a lot of fun. And people on YouTube comment as we're conversating. It stays on YouTube for the duration of the universe, and people watch after the show. And quite a few people watch and listen on TuneIn. It's a lot of fun. If you get a chance, you should go to gabnet.net from 7 p.m. Pacific time until 9 p.m. Pacific time. That's 10 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. And take a listen to Gabnet, or hey, if you got Skype, dial in. Get on the Citizens panel. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, it's been great getting to know Alex. It's kind of weird in that I was a fan for many years. And now I guess I could say he's a friend. Yeah. I think I'd call him a friend. I'm going to go to New York and probably visit him and have some coffee. Hey, but we're all human, so it's just interesting where life takes you. But anyway, I really enjoyed speaking with Alex. I have a ton of respect for him, his tenacity in the world of entertainment and radio especially, which is super cutthroat, his desire to continue to work and to produce cutting edge material, really, despite not really getting a lot of credit for it these days. He's doing something that nobody else is doing with the Citizens panel, and I think it's really cool. So I hope you enjoy this conversation that I had with Alex. In fact, I know you will, because it's incredible. As Donald Trump would say, it's the most tremendous conversation ever in the history, almost, of any conversations ever. I promise you. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. All right, enough Donald Trump. Here's Alex Bennett and moi. You live in Harlem in a famous apartment, right?
Well, it's kind of famous, yeah. Yeah, notoriously famous in the movies, you know.
Which movie?
New Jack City.
Ah. How'd you find that out?
Well, I mean, I found that out because every time I would pull up to the apartment and, with a cab, they would look and go, "Oh, the Carter." You know, and the name of the place isn't the Carter; it's actually the Graham Court, but they called it the Carter in New Jack City. And they're, guy getting shot to death in front of it, and then when they're planning what they're going to do with the place, what's his name? Wesley Snipes points to a diagram of the building and then says, "This is where we're going to build the crack lab, and it's our kitchen." So,
That's pretty cool.
It's notorious for that, but it shows up in a lot of other movies. Most recently, it was very prominent in Mozart in the Jungle. It's the apartment house where she lives with this big courtyard and so on. So they were using it there, but they canceled that show, so they canceled our.
Is that the Netflix show?
That's in it. Yeah. No, Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never got a chance to see that. So, Alex, a lot of people listen to this show in the Bay Area, and you were out here for so many years as a radio personality. Which stations were you on?
When I first came out, I was on KMEL. Mm-hmm. Then after about, I think 2 years of that, I went over to the Quake. Yeah. Because they offered me a ton of money and I have no loyalty. And that lasted about another, I'd say 2 years before the company just folded, Yeah. And Live 105 picked me up, or it was called KITS at the time. So.
Mm-hmm. And you used to have comedians on your show all the time, and you really helped the careers of a lot of these guys and gals. I remember.
Yeah, but they helped me too. I mean, they gave me a show. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a two-way street on that.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I remember Buddy Love. You really I think you really helped to spike his popularity around here for quite a while. I remember one time he was on your show, and I went to a club right after, and it was totally packed. And I miss those times, actually.
That helped him. I mean, I don't think I made his career because he had been a musician here in the Bay, here in New York, in the Bay Area for a lot of years. He was known to basically the musical community as Bubba Lou Vickers. And his real name is Bobby Vickers. And he came up with this whole Buddy Love thing, which I don't know, I had a certain reticence about that because that's the name of the character in the Nutty Professor, the alter ego of the Nutty Professor. And he shows up at the club, says Buddy Love, So when he took Buddy Love, I went, I wish he could get something a little more original than that. But, we lived with it, and he kind of became his own Buddy Love,
Yeah. I used to love it when you guys would sing When the Shark Bites on the radio. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Who were some of the comics that you had on your show when you were here?
Oh, gee,
everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, there are comedians who did my show that I didn't even remember did my show till they reminded me of it. Like Louis Black said to me, I did your show several times in San Francisco. I said, you did? Yeah.
Well, sometimes you had so many people in the room. I remember I couldn't figure out who was who. I just remember there were a lot of really funny things being said.
Yeah, sometimes we get a real gangbang going in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. To where I wondered if the audience could even keep up with it on the air, because with television, at least you can see who's talking.
Yeah.
Here, it was like this. After a while, it became a comedy pate. Yeah.
Right. Those were some of the most fun times for me. I even saw a picture. I think I saw a picture with Robin Williams and a few other pretty famous comics in your studio there.
But it wasn't in my studio. Oh. That was at the we did a thing for the Special Olympics, a benefit, and it's a picture of me and Dana Carvey, Kevin Pollak, Robin Williams, and Jerry Seinfeld.
Ah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and Michael Pritchard, who is a local comedian. And if you look at the photograph, the guy I'm looking at is Michael Pritchard. Now, how's that for sucking up to the wrong guy?
Yeah. Well, who would have known?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just I was listening to the radio the other day, and Will Durst and Debbie were on with Maureen Langham on KGO, and I didn't even know it, but they host a comedy day out in Golden Gate Park every
Oh
year.
yeah, they've been doing it for years. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go this time.
Oh, that started way back when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a chance to go to it, or?
I think I went to the first year. I think.
Yeah.
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 So.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So you've been on the radio for your whole working life. Where did you start?
At KTIM in San Rafael.
Oh.
Yeah.
Local.
Yeah. Real local.
Yeah.
So local that it was a daytime broadcast station, which meant they had to go off when the sun went down.
I remember those.
Promulgating the idea that maybe everybody that worked there was a vampire. I don't know if they have daylight stations anymore.
I don't think so.
Daytimers. Because I think they converted them all to full-timers, but gave them very low power at night or something like that. It was all the reason they had daytimers is that certain frequencies were protected because they were clear channel stations that had 50,000 watts and were considered to be the ones that could go at least halfway across the country, if not all the way across the country with their 50,000 watts. But only at night could you hear them because of a thing we call skywave. The atmosphere lowers and the signals can bounce off the atmosphere and then come down almost anywhere. I used to go to the top of Mount Tamalpais when I was starting out in the business and just start what we call DXing radio stations across the country. And you could hear them, all the way to New York sometimes.
Now, are those AM stations or FM?
They were AMs.
AM.
And they were protected. So if you were on 1510 like KTIM, but there was a 1510 clear channel somewhere, you had to sign off at sunset so you didn't interrupt their signal.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know if that exists anymore.
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Yeah. I don't listen to a lot of AM radio anymore, so. I
always felt we were second class citizens. Yeah.
AM?
Yeah. I mean, no.
Oh.
Daytimers.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And it changed throughout the year because we didn't have to go off till literally the legal sunset in the area. So that could be I think the latest we signed on during the year was like 8:45, something like signed off 8:45.
Mm-hmm. So. And then where did you go from there? If you don't mind me asking.
I go from there? I went to, where did I go from there? God, I'm a little tired. I took a Xanax last night to go to sleep, so my memory then fails.
Well, I'm with you. I couldn't sleep last night either, so we're in the same boat.
Yeah, well, it was the anticipation of having to talk to me.
No.
No, I then went from KTIM in San Rafael. Well, actually, I started at KTIM in San Rafael because I did a high school radio program. My first professional job was in Reno, Nevada. And my father knew a guy that owned a radio station, and he gave me a job in Reno, Nevada. And the only problem is that it worked out of a casino. And it was Harrah's Club. And so every night I would have to go climb the stairs of the casino, go through the casino to get to the radio station, which was a booth that people could walk by, like and see people doing radio. The only problem was I was under 21. And so they had to have literally armed guards lead me through the casino to take me to work. Every night. And if I wanted to go to the bathroom, I had to call them, and they would come and join me in the bathroom, standing on either side of the latrine while they took a leak.
Wow.
Yeah. That lasted a very short time.
I guess so.
And I came back, and I went to KTIM, where I'd done these high school shows, and I said, "Do you have any work here for me?" And they hired me, doing some part-time work throughout the week. My shifts changed constantly, but. I learned a lot about what I had to know about radio from that little radio station because the guy who ran it was an old traditionalist in radio. And so he had all kinds of shows. You know, you would have the swap shop followed by an hour of music, followed by the man on the street, you know. And so occasionally I would have to do all these other shows too. I learned my trade doing all those kind of little odd jobs. You know, one day I'm doing the swap shop. I actually worked a show called The Portuguese Voice of Marin, in which a guy by the name of Agnel Clementino, God, how do I remember that name, used to have this show every day completely in Portuguese, and I had to do the opening in Portuguese. So I had it written out phonetically, and it was, Boa tarde, Agnel. You know, and he would then start going and, blasting away in Portuguese, which I didn't understand. The only thing I understood was he smoked a lot, so he would have to cough a lot. So whenever he had cough, he would hold up one finger or two fingers. I can't remember. Maybe it was 5 fingers, but it was a bunch of fingers. And then you would cut his mic while he hacked away, and then turn his mic back on. And there was this one guy, Wayne, what was his name? I can't remember his last name, who hated him. So sometimes he would he would see the fingers go up, so he would turn his back to him. And Agnel would look over and see that he couldn't see his fingers, and then he'd start turning bright red, trying to keep from coughing. And all the time, Wayne had already, using the pot, but not the switch to turn the on and off light on, would turn down the pot so he could cough. But he didn't know that, and he loved doing that to Agnel.
Oh, God, I love stories like that.
A guy named Ollie Freeman, who did the Gospel Train show, which was a bunch of gospel music. And then he also did some stuff with what was then, I guess you could call it rhythm and blues in those days. So there were all these shows. Every hour it was a different show.
Yeah.
So every hour I would have to be doing something different.
Yeah. So that was great training.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was,
50s.
1958 maybe.
Yeah.
That I worked there. I was doing the shows in the mid 50s for the high school.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about 58, 59, something like 59, I think. Maybe 60.
So
maybe it was 1980. I can't remember. I'm an old man.
Speaking of what, you're going to be, do you want to talk about, you have a gig coming up on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I know you're a little nervous about it. We don't have to talk about it.
I'm not nervous about it. I'm concerned about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of different, it's on about 50 stations across the country. And it's not like it's a big show. It's a show a guy does for 3 hours every week on Sunday.
Yeah. And
it's run on Westwood 1. So it's playing in a lot of good markets. I'm on in Chicago. I'm on in Philadelphia. I'm on, I don't think I'm in New York, actually. I'm on in Portland, San Francisco, even Guam. But he asked me to do it, and he's the kind of guy I just can't refuse. Mm-hmm. And so I said I'd do it, and it's just that he does his show out of his laundry room in his house in Cleveland. And I'm thinking to myself, gee, that's no way to do a radio program. You go into a studio and there's your engineer and there's your screener and, there's coffee down the hall. There's a bathroom. And here, the bathroom, he warned me, first of all, see, there's a radio announcer's nightmare that we get. Every guy who's ever been on radio, I mention this to them, and they go, yeah, we call it the nightmare. And you get it, where you're sleeping and you're dreaming. And it's the equivalent of like most people have dreams where they figure they have to get somewhere, but they can't quite get there, right? Right. The disc jockey dream is you go to the bathroom, and then you either can't find your way back, or when you get back to it, the door is locked. That's the radio. And so Walter said, "You remember that nightmare?" He said, "Yeah." Well, you might face it at CBS because the bathroom, it's not far, but it's through this maze of studios, and so you might not be able to find the studio again.
So you had that nightmare where you're walking through endless studios and can't find your own?
Worried about that. All of a sudden, that's the thing I'm worried about. Will I be, because in 3 hours, I'm an old man. I got to go to the bathroom at least once.
Almost anyone would.
Yeah. So I'm to make sure it's on a long break.
Maybe you could tape it off, like the yellow brick road.
I was thinking of buying a cookie before I went and putting the crumbs down like Hansel and Gretel or whoever they were.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, you wonder how he does it in his laundry room. The acoustics must be horrible. Maybe he has some padding up on the wall or something.
It goes against my comfort level because they put you in this dingy little room at CBS.
Yeah.
Now, I can't imagine any room in CBS being dingy. I mean, they're a money-making company, right? Yeah. But who knows? Anyway, he says, and you get the microphone there. And then in your earphones, you've got Philadelphia. Your engineer is in Philadelphia. And not only is she in Philadelphia, but your screener's in Philadelphia. And you will have a screen on your computer that will tell you what phones are available. But you don't get to press them. In other words, it should be made so that you can just click on the thing and it'll automatically answer it down in Philadelphia. But so I'm really working in a vacuum. Mm-hmm.
And it's up to them who goes online when, not you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I can look at the list and go, and I see Ray's there or something, and I go, I know him. I go, line 2. Let's go to line 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm used to working with people around me so that I can play off of them. And, I mean, the reason I have the citizen panel so I can play off of people.
Yes.
So it's going to. So I have trepidation about it. I don't have any fear about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm an old pro.
Yes,
I can do it. It's just a question: do I want to do it? Do I want to do 3 hours of being in a deprivation tank?
No, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about GabNet a little bit and your citizens panel and what GabNet's all about?
Yeah.
It's your chance to promote it to my thousands and thousands of listeners.
Well, I mean, you probably told them already.
No, I haven't yet. I will in the intro, but
Gab, you can find out about it. Go to gabnet.net. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came up with a thing called the Citizen Panel, in which we can go upwards to 9 people talking at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but individually and discussing all manner of things.
Yeah.
So it's the only new format in talk in 50 years, something like that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always really admired about your work is you enjoy coming up with new ways of doing things before the rest of the world figures out you can do it, and then everyone else makes money on it later on, and you had done it 10 years before.
If you do the same thing over and over again, that can get pretty boring.
Yeah.
So I don't know how some of these people spend their entire career doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
And so I try to put a new spin on everything that I do so that at least it stays interesting for me. Mm-hmm. But I think I've run out of ideas. I think I'm at that age where innovation, the system panel is probably my last great innovation.
Yeah. Well, I think it's...
And the industry...
I love it. I mean... just for those of you who don't know, it's a Skype call, and Alex does a half hour of his own show, and then we come on, and any one of you can call through Skype, or there's even a phone number, and be on the panel, and we have a conversation about everything. We talk about politics, we talk about our medical conditions.
That's my wife calling.
Oh.
I'll let her try to. I have this new iPhone. This iPhone X, so when you look at it, it doesn't answer the phone, but it turns the ringer off.
Oh.
So I can just look at it and turn the ringer off.
I got to get that. I have an
Okay.
iPhone 7C. It doesn't do that.
Oops. I just dropped
There it
my
went.
I dropped my glasses and the lens fell out.
Oh, God, I hate that.
I hate that. These store-bought glasses where when the lenses fall out, they fall out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can't figure out how to get them in, and eventually you hear that click and you're happy. So
I know.
there we go. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it sounds
try
like
it.
you're good at it.
Yeah.
So I know you have a little bit of a time issue here, so I want to respect
Okay.
that. Is there anything else we could talk about?
What do you want to talk about?
Well,
Because I'm very bad at being interviewed because I do spend my entire life interviewing.
I know, and you're a lot better at
hard
it than me.
it's hard to be on the receiving end without starting to interview the interviewer.
Right. Do you still, Lori Thompson was sort of your sidekick there for a long time. You still talk to Lori at all?
On occasion I've talked to her. I haven't talked to her in the last couple of years, maybe, but I every now and then we bump into each other, or we knock heads. Yeah.
Yeah. She was on Cameo, and she kind of followed you on all the stations in the Bay Area, right?
She wasn't on Cameo.
Oh.
She wasn't even on the Quake.
Oh, she wasn't. Okay.
That was Joe Rogelski.
Ah, Rogelski, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I left the Quake under a lot of legal stuff, I couldn't take him with me because he was still under contract to the radio station. So I got to the new radio station, and they had a morning show, and Lori Thompson was the newswoman, and they said, we can get you whatever news person you want, but we'd appreciate it if you maybe gave her a try. And I said, absolutely. And I didn't want to put anybody out of a job, just because I was coming to the station. Yeah. So it was fortuitous because she was very good as a sidekick, as it were.
Yeah. I didn't know what better word to use other than sidekick, but I thought that you two had a good sound, a good chemistry on air that really worked.
A newswoman, but I don't want to diminish it that much. She was a sidekick. She added a element to the show. Yeah.
Yes, that female touch, and but she was also very. She had a lot of smarminess about her, which I found. I found fun.
She was very good. She was very good.
She was very good, very good, and. Yeah. I remember one time I went, I think it was the Punchline. You used to have these live shows in the morning. And I remember once I got up at 4:30 in the morning to get there, I think. And it was packed, and that was a blast.
Yeah, no, those were great shows.
Yeah.
Those were true.
You'd have a couple of comedians up there on a panel with you, and you'd do the show for an audience, big audience. Yeah.
Well, those were fun. Yeah. Those were great fun.
Yeah.
And the comics would get up and do a little bit of their act and stuff like that. Yeah. Made it special.
I miss those days. We just don't have stuff like that in the Bay Area anymore.
I don't think you're ever going to. When I did, people say to me, oh, come back to San Francisco, do it again. And I go, there's no doing it again today. What was wonderful back then is it was a product of its time. It was a product of what radio was at the moment. But to go back and do it today, we really couldn't do it for any number of reasons. Number one, I couldn't have a live studio audience because security is so tight in these radio stations, they'd have to check everybody's ID. Here we just let people come in the morning and sit down, right. And enjoy the show. So that's just for starters, but also it's just... Hey, well, to begin with, they wouldn't hire me because of my age.
Yeah, which I find ridiculous, because especially in radio, since it's just your voice and you sound exactly like you always have. So that blows my mind, but I understand that that's the reality.
Well, if I ask people, to just tell me how old they thought I was, which I'm going to do on Sunday, well, I'm not going to ask them to do that because they'll look it up on Wikipedia. But I will tell them at the end of the show how old I am. But if you were to ask, if I were to ask people, how old am I? I people tell me I still have kind of the voice I had back when I was in San Francisco.
You do.
You know,
I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, and so to try and peg my age by my voice is not very easy.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
I think you're just on top of it as you were years
But that
ago.
doesn't matter. You know, if I walk into a radio station and I say, "Hey, I'm Alex Bennett," they go, "Oh yeah, we know you, Alex. Hire me." They're going to go, "Oh well, you know, you're a real pro. Maybe we got some openings for part-time stuff." They, you know, as soon as they see me, they go, "Oh, he's an old man," you know, and that there's automatic prejudice where that's concerned. It's one of the things I'm going to talk about on Sunday.
Yeah,
is that getting old, as Betty Davis said, ain't for sissies.
that's for damn sure.
You know?
Well, I'm really glad you're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
And I'm looking forward to it. And I'm a lot younger than you, but I'm not young anymore, and I'm facing it.
Yeah.
And I could only imagine 20 years from now how it's going to be.
Well, people face it today. Women face it younger than men. Women start facing it at 35. Okay?
Crazy.
Men, about 45, 50. You know, and I lasted well into my 70s before I lost my job, which I think had to do a lot with ageism.
Yeah.
You know, I know it had to do with ageism because they made me sign a thing saying I wouldn't sue them for ageism.
Proof is in the pudding.
They would get my, what do you call it, when they pay you off for the time you've been there.
I forget the term.
You know what I'm talking about.
Severance.
Yeah. Severance. Yeah, they wouldn't pay me my severance unless I signed that. And I looked at them and I said, you know, this is an ageist thing you're doing to me, because you wouldn't be having a 35-year-old sign this.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And they went, well, we are hum. Yeah.
You called them on their bullshit.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been wonderful,
Thanks,
Ray.
Alex.
Always enjoy talking to you on the show, and I enjoy talking to you here.
Same with me, Alex. This has been a lot of fun.
You're an interesting and talented person.
Well, thank you very much. Well, that was a lot of fun talking with Alex, one of my, dare I say, mentors. Yes, I will say that. Alex doesn't like it when I say this, but he actually really affected my desire to stay in the entertainment world. He absolutely did. And the biggest contribution he made in my life was that he was always honest on the radio. You always knew what Alex was going through. He was a real person, and I really loved that. And it made me realize how powerful radio can be, broadcast can be, television can be, when a person is the person they are on the medium that they've chosen. For me, it draws me in. And I think it's the thing that draws people in when they're watching a play or a movie, even if somebody's playing a character. And you might not even notice it as an audience member, but if you can relate to that person in such a way that a part of you resonates with whatever they're putting out because it's real and it's grounded and it's not fake. There's no wall. It's so much more powerful. And Alex has always done that. I think you probably could have heard that in this interview. Alex is just Alex. And he's an endlessly interesting person. And I'm privileged to know him and to call him a friend. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my green room. You can send me an email anytime at raysgreenroom@gmail.com. That's raysgreenroom@gmail.com. RAYS greenroom@gmail.com. Give me a shout, give me a holler, give me some feedback. Let me know if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Let me know anything about anything I've said. Or send me money. If you have any friends, send them to this podcast. Tell them to take a listen, because a lot of people are listening. Billions and billions of people are listening to this show. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. And until next time, I will see you on the boards. Good night, everybody.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Live